quick share out, and this will be the end of the session. You'll sort of explain how it went in your room and what your next step and your rigor strategies might be. Now that we've seen it, you've debriefed what we saw in Mr. Smilak's room. So in the round 4 down there, take about 3 minutes and reflect on what are your own next steps after hearing the group talk about Mr. Smilak's observation and thinking about how your experience was, because you probably didn't use the same strategies. About 30 more seconds for your next step based on our conversation and based on what you know happened in your classroom. And just to sort of ground us in the sort of share out, if we're actually meeting the goal that students are critiquing the reasoning of others verbally and in writing using academic vocabulary, that's the evidence that LEAP needs to give it a 5 on IQ. Because that's critiquing and justifying your reasoning and the reasoning of others. That's verbally and in writing. We have the real world. So if we could really come up with strategies that make all students like critique and justify reasoning, then we're gonna see like 4s, 5s, and 6s in our I2 LEAP scores. So that's just sort of to bring us back why this, not only is this helping kids think more and learn more, but it also helps us in our evaluation as a teacher. So when you guys do your whip around, if you guys will please sort of describe just quickly what was the strategy you tried, and then what's your next step that you're gonna try and modify. Can we start with you more?
Sure. So mine was, my quick activity was like a leveled activity with partner feedback with using highlighters to highlight the mistakes. And what's that?
Highlight what? Mistakes.
Mistakes, yeah. To help like increase the feedback.
Okay.
What else did you need from me?
What's your action step? What is something you're gonna try and switch up or change or add next week when you try this
I'm
out?
gonna do a better gradual release. So I wasn't very clear on like exactly what should be highlighted, or like better structures for the students to actually like highlight and give feedback.
Okay.
What that looks like and sounds like, I guess. Yeah.
So more intentional gradual release of like the feedback structures?
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Pilgrim?
Yesterday we did a lesson on defining what life is, and so students were given 10 cards, and my strategy was like holding the answer back until the end of the class period. So they were given like 10 cards, and they had to argue whether that thing was alive or not. And they were working in collaboration and agreeing and disagreeing with each other. And for the next steps, I'm going to have accountable talksim, little cards on each desk, and then 2 before me.
Mr. Matthews?
I did a statement reason table activity today, and it went okay. I think I did improve my exemplar and be more deliberate with the checklist that I provide for when they're critiquing one another.
Pretend that spells exemplar. Sure.
Yeah.
Pretty close. Yeah. Math. And a checklist of what, sorry?
A more deliberate checklist for a proficient example, proficient tabling.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Hall?
Mine is pretty much the same as Morty's as far as partner feedback and highlighting. I highlighted what's good and what the critiques are. So I gave them a copy of one that was already filled out and done, and so there was mistakes in it, and then I modeled how I would highlight and give written feedback on that. So they had a model of that, and I just tried to release them to do it on their own this morning. So I need to, I think, go over it after I give them time each step.
Go over what, sorry, what's it?
Go over the answer, like after they do it, like part A, they do part A, they trade papers, give feedback, like I need to go over it to help keep them on pace.
So like, I have a clear answer after like the debrief?
Because like there was 5 parts to it, and then they could get to the very end and then it'd be wrong, and then the kids just got off task and quit, so I managed them a little bit.
Okay, so making sure they actually get to the learning and understanding you needed them to get to.
And then also accountable talk because they got off task.
Okay.
Like their conversations, they were good for a while, but then like,
Drifted.
and it drifted. So I ended up.
Spelling, not my thing today. All right, Mr. Alarte?
So we critique other students' work from the do now from the other day. So
Green is positive.
so they were not following the expectations. Like when I say you guys are going to be working both partners at the same time, so they were just passing the papers back and forth. So my next steps right there is to, like, I just get the idea to show a video, and I just found it here.
Show a video of what?
Of how the structure looks like an example of what do I expect from each of them, and what, like a video, and I just found it.
So can I say, set like clear expectations for the collaboration?
Mhm.
Okay.
And then also to be more specific, to use evidence in their justification. So I want them to use their own solution in order to justify why these students made a mistake.
So using evidence in their critique? Ms. Krause?
So I tried the rubric for the lab reports that my kids were doing this past week, and I just essentially had them create lab reports, and they had to go through the rubric, kind of checklist with one another. And then I also included, Paul, you were like highlighting, like pink, like sentences of concern versus green, which were well said, strong sentences. So it was good, but I did not model it very well. I didn't model it at all. So I will do that in the future. Model it before I give it to them. Because there's a good structure, it just was lost in the confusion of the highlighters and
Okay, so clear model. This is the bottom.
So I did the groups for the captains for CSR. It was like chemical weathering, like Statue of Liberty. Some of the groups did a really good job. However, I don't think Claire, I didn't model it as well as I should have. So I've been doing it for a while and realized that I think I need to model like the expectations for the roles.
So if we model overall expectations more specifically. Okay. Right. And the one that I did is in my first period class, I did like a Kagan structure. It's like technically I think it's called rally table, but I call it step and check, where like kids each write a different problem. They write one step and they switch boards and then they add another step and they switch and they add another step and then they switch and they add another step and they switch. And all my kids were in groups of 3 or 4. And each kid had a different type of equation that we've been working on. One with fraction equations, absolute value equations, and square root equations. So every single time they switched, they would see one of the 3 types of equations that we've been focusing on recently. And I felt, so that was this, my strategy was step and check. And I sort of have 2 next steps. One is I also think I need a clear sort of model of what it looks like to do that, because some students would just start like solving the entire problem instead of just doing one step. Because like in equations, sometimes one step is literally adding 3 on each side and you're done, that's the step. But they're like, no, I want to keep on going, like, but that's not, but then now you're not critiquing and you're not justifying and you're just solving a problem all on your own again. So a more clear model of what it looks like to add just one step and then trade. And then I also making sure that like the smaller skills needed are strong, because I thought that, you guys can see it around the room, that the simplifying radicals was a solid thing already when I sent them up to do it. And when they were doing the square root equations, the simplifying radicals were a nightmare. And they weren't actually set up to accurately critique each other. They knew it was wrong, but I didn't set them up to understand simplifying radicals enough for them to really critique each other. So making sure that like that small skill that they need to critique is a little bit stronger before I throw them into the activity, is sort of where mine is right now. So we have lots of these are great action steps, guys, and it sounds like a lot of it is just making sure it's really clear. A lot of us have like clear models and clear,
Did you forget someone?
Smile like everyone, because he was the host.
I don't have the action.
This was your action step. You started this off, right? Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because he started us off as action step and then we did all of ours.
Clear model.
So the next step of the process is, since we do have one more week, we all need to go, and we might do a different strategy. Maybe you'll try the same exact rigor strategy and just use your action steps to try and improve that one strategy first. So we would like to observe another person next week, and then we'll debrief Thursday, and this lesson study cycle will be finished next Thursday. And we'll be done with our first one, then you guys get we all get LEAP partial evaluated that November the 9th.
So on that day.
The week of November 9th, that's LEAP partial week. So, who would like to be our next person that we either go and observe, or once again, I'll go in and tape the video and chop it up into some YouTube videos. Either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Ideally Monday or Tuesday.
Monday is parent-teacher conference.
So,
Not Monday.
Tuesday.
ideally Tuesday, so if you have to watch the video, you have all of Wednesday to watch the video. Cross on Tuesday?
Oh, wait, Wednesday, wait, what day?
Ideally Tuesday, so if people need to watch the video, they have all of Wednesday to find time. Huh?
I can do Tuesday.
We'll do, okay. We'll do Matthews on Tuesday. Do you have an ideal class period?
First, ideally,
Okay,
but I know you teach that class.
That's fine.
We can do fourth.
as long, first or fourth, we'll figure that out, because all that actually needs to happen is someone just needs to be taped. So we can figure that out. Okay, so I'll send out, guys, this as well, so you guys can capture everyone's strategies we've been using and all of our sort of next steps and action steps. But our next person that we'll see will be Matthews Tuesday, or I'll send out the